Let's throw our hands in the air
Woo-hoo.
as we soar through the sky.
Yatta!
We'll catch the sun
Woo-hoo.
with your hand in mine, and
Yeah.
if we work as a team, everything will be fine.
Yeah!
Oh, it's Cure of the What Now?
Let's henshin and start the show!
Hello, fellow sand artists, and welcome to Cure of the What Now, the only show where we know rain is bad for sand. You know, you're building your sand sculpture, it starts raining, that thing's not going to stay up, it's going to go shloop. Maybe plan ahead and bring a tent next time, is all I'm saying.
Check the weather forecast, you know? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. My name is Kat, and I am a mermaid who definitely is not salty that everyone else gets to play in the sand and have fun while I sit in my pot.
It seems like you're kind of sulkily sitting in that pot over there.
That's my regular sit.
Okay, absolutely. I'm Joel, co-host of the show, feeling a little under the weather, so if I sound a little bit different, that's because we wanted to get this episode recorded, but, you know, I'm just not quite feeling 100%, folks. But also, I am in a ridiculous pose as I try to scatter sand all over my enemy in an attempt to limit their movements.
Joel, why are you still standing like that even now that we're recording and you're done throwing sand?
It just feels better this way, you know? The blood rushes to my head and everything gets a little wobbly, you know?
Stretching out your hamstrings? Okay,
Absolutely.
That's fair. So, this was episode 11 of Cure of the What Now?
Yeah.
And as always, we must start with our discussion question for the week. Who would you say, 11 episodes into the season, is your standout character? Like, who are you most excited to see, or who are you enjoying the best when they're on screen?
I mean, I'm going to be boring, and I'm just going to give the obvious answer. Asuka is still my favorite. She just has the most character. Minori has her own character, but it's the reserved character, which is not my thing. I much prefer Asuka, and so her, today being your only tool is your body and your shovel. That's a very, athlete kind of way of talking about her. She was the one who started spritzing the other girls with the squirt bottle and started having, the fun or whatever. She still talks back to Laura. She's just great in every way.
She really is, absolutely. For me, and maybe we should limit this to the actual cures, but the standout character is Laura.
Yeah.
And maybe that's kind of a lazy answer because the show does seem centered around her growth as a person. But I really enjoy her. I like seeing her be like, meh, but also maybe I do want this. Meh.
We're getting that arc that I kind of previously predicted, but it's not on the foreground. It's more kind of subtle, where Laura is kind of realizing that she does want to be included. We, as an older audience, you and I, Kat, we watched it and we said, obviously she's kind of doing the tsundere thing in that second episode, I think it was, when Manatsu's like, I'm going to go shopping. Do you want to come with? And she goes, no, I'll stay here. And Manatsu goes, okay. And she leaves. And Laura's like, no, wait, I did want to come. And so now we finally get this episode where she's acknowledging that she kind of feels left out, and we're getting an acknowledgement of that while she talks to Kururun for any of the younger audience members who might not know why she's acting so funny. And then we get Manatsu kind of reaching her hand out to Laura, saying let's find a way to include you, and Laura's like, thanks.
Yeah.
So I do agree that Laura has some good character development as well.
And like you said, Asuka has so much personality. I really like her. I love... It's very easy for me, especially in the line of work that I'm in, to project autism onto characters who are the quiet, reserved type. But Minori being surprised that Manatsu wants to give her a high five was so cute.
Yeah.
Come on, Minori, you're part of the team. She's giving everybody else a high five. Yes, she wants to high five you.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times in anime, if a character's wearing glasses and it doesn't show their eyes and instead shows the light being reflected in the lenses, usually that is shorthand for trying to show them as, in some cases, menacing and non-human, they're thinking thoughts that you couldn't even possibly perceive. But other times it's just a shorthand for confusion or not quite getting it. And there was one shot, I can't remember where it was, where it showed the light being reflected in her glasses, and I just kind of thought that's a choice. This doesn't seem like a situation where Minori should be confused, and yet if I understand the language of the shot, she is. And so, yeah, I could kind of see, I don't know if they're necessarily going for autistic, but they're definitely going for some kind of like socially awkward, doesn't really have friends or doesn't go out very much kind of type of vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think she's easy to kind of discount as like, she doesn't do much, but I think it's cute that she's learning to have friends. They're all learning to have friends, except for Minatsu, who's friends with the whole gosh darn world, apparently.
Yeah, Minori and Songo are good when they have episodes about them. And I think they have their moments, but they just don't, their moments don't stand out because they are the reserved type. So I am excited to get more episodes from Minori's point of view, where maybe she learns to be a little bit more outgoing. But for now, her personality type just isn't the type of personality that I enjoy seeing in my characters. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that kind of wraps up our discussion question. I don't have much more to say. Do you want to give me a succinct summary for this episode?
Yeah. So Minatsu wants to do a club activity to celebrate the fact that she passed her test, and they have another week with the Tropical Club, and they host a sand sculpture contest with all of the other clubs. It's a competition, and so there's like the art team, and there's the baseball team, and the judo team. And then they work really hard. Laura is not allowed to participate because they might see a mermaid and be like, holy crap, it's a mermaid. And so she gets a little kind of pouty, and she realizes that she kind of wants to join in, but she can't. The bad guy shows up right when it starts to rain. Minatsu saves the sand sculptors with sculptures using the parachutes that they had seen the previous day from parasailing, thanks to Laura's suggestion. So Laura did help. And then they ended up beating the bad guy, and that's the end of the episode. You'd think that maybe the Tropical Club would have been the ones to win the contest, but no, it actually turns out the art team is really good at doing art-type things, and so they win with this very beautiful sculpture, although the Tropical Club did look pretty good as well.
I thought so, and I like that they added little details, like they gave the dugong horns, and they gave wings to the whale shark. So their personalities Tropica-shined.
Yeah.
Every time I say Tropica-shined, I want to say Tropica-shone, because I think that's like the correct tense, but that's not how they say it in the show, so.
It's always fun with those weird like made up words, and then you try to like shoehorn them into like how the language works, you know what I'm saying? I do also think it's important to say that at the end of the episode, Minatsu promises to try and come up with an activity that Laura can participate in. I already alluded to that during the discussion question, but it was a really cute moment. We watched this episode with a friend from the Discord, and we all kind of commented, like, this feels a little bit more gay than other scenes that we've seen from the show so far, and I appreciate that personally. I like it when there's, like, the strong friendship, and Minatsu is kind of able to hear Laura's thoughts without Laura explicitly communicating them.
Absolutely. Well, and we've talked before about how strong relationships, not necessarily romantic, though it's easy to interpret them that way, but strong relationships are the core of good Precure seasons. You can't have an enjoyable season without those emotional bonds.
Right, yeah. Not to harp on Healin' Good, but Healin' Good, it felt like three friends who just happened to hang out and just happened to be superheroes, whereas like Witchy or Go Princess, it really felt like these were people who were impacting each other's lives and like building each other up in ways that...
Man, do you remember that scene between Mermaid and Flora where she was like, I want to stay with you forever?
Yes. Do you remember the way that Haruka like blushed that time that she danced with Minori, like in that very... No, her name's not Minori, is it?
Minami.
Minami
Kaido.
Perfect. But yeah, no. So I really like that episode. I'm glad that the kind of vibes that I got from Laura and Minatsu in that early episode are coming back. I thought maybe the writers had just kind of like forgotten or had decided not to focus on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you like these episodes? This episode? we watched like 7 episodes for King of the What Now, but we only watch 1 episode at a time for Cure of the What Now.
I believe you mean King of the What Now.
You're right, and Cure of the What Now.
I like that.
Is that how we say that opening?
I guess so. Now, yes, I liked this episode. It did feel kind of fillery with, like, the bad guy didn't really seem to impact much of anything, and And, you know, it was just kind of like a light, fun, fluffy episode. At the same time, like I alluded to, Asuka is kind of like coming out of her shell and like helping out and like just having some fun. She and Laura are still like kind of sniping at each other. Not meanly, but kind of like big sister, little sister kind of vibes. And you got Minori accidentally adding the wings to, was it the dugong maybe? Whale shark. And Manatsu's like, oh, do they normally have wings? Or that's kind of strange. And Minori goes, oh, I'm sorry. And Manatsu's like, no, it's fine. I like that because it shows that Minori does still have that element of kind of like being a dreamer or creative who you know, interprets things slightly differently than how they are in reality. And I liked it.
Absolutely. I really liked this episode as well. We've noted that Tropical Rouge, so far at least, seems to be more of a character-driven show than a plot-driven show.
Yeah.
And I do like that there is that element of consistent character growth happening. Sometimes, in some of these Precure seasons, you'll watch an episode and you'll be like, what was the point of that episode? But I haven't felt that way about any of the Tropical Rouge episodes so far.
Very interesting. I would say that I kind of feel like a lot of the episodes to me feel like what was the point of that episode. You know, 2 years from now when we're not reviewing them episode to episode, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to remember this episode from, you know, the previous episode where, you know, Songo put on the panda mask. Nobody cared who I was until I put on the panda mask. But at the same time, none of these episodes are really standouts from each other for that same reason because they are so episodic. And so, yeah, I could see that being a strength of the show. Also, I forgot to mention this in the succinct summary. Your theory from last week, or your prediction, was correct. They just had Manatsu study off screen, and this episode just starts with her being like, I passed my tests, which is an interesting way of storytelling. I'm glad that they were able to focus on something fun like the sand sculptures. I don't think an episode of trying to get the himbo to study is really that interesting, but I think it would have been an interesting way to see how the different team members try to prop Manatsu up, you know?
Well, and imagine being like 10 and your show 2 weeks in a row is character tries to study. You'd be like, well, that's dumb. I watched this last week.
Well, see, I would argue that that's why they shouldn't have had last week be like a weird two-story episode. They should have had Manatsu loses her shine and then Manatsu studies as two separate things. But, you know, I'm not a show writer. I don't know if I'd be able to write 48 or 52 or however many episodes they're going to do.
Absolutely. No new information in these episodes.
Not particularly.
And so, peek behind the curtain, we usually watch the Cure of the What Now? We usually watch Tropical Rouge by ourselves, but we had a friend visiting from out of town, so she watched with us. So we didn't really take notes, so we didn't write down really any favorite scenes or quotes. Do you have any that stood out to you?
Not particularly any quotes that kind of showed up. Although Asuka asking, did I use Tropica-shine correctly? That's pretty cute. You know, she's trying to learn the lingo of these hip young kids. A full 2 years younger than she is. There was one facial expression that I think, was it Laura made it? She made some, like, expression of, like, frustration or something that it was when she... So she's been excluded from the group she acknowledges why, but she's talking to Kururin and she's like, oh, Kururin, do you want me to take pictures? Are you saying that you're bored because you don't have any pictures to look at? And she uses that to justify coming out of the mermaid pot and taking some pictures or whatever. And the mischievous grin that she has on her face is peak I don't pay my taxes Laura energy.
Gremlin Laura energy, absolutely. Yeah. I liked that the other clubs were kind of confused about Manatsu being like, let's tropical shine, but they still went with it. They were like, yeah. I
think it was one of the judo club members said something like, I don't get it, but let's try to Tropica shine.
Yeah, you didn't mention it during your succinct summary, but Manatsu wanted to do something that would involve, like, the rest of the school.
Yes.
So they were able to invite other clubs to participate in this activity with them.
Yes. Did you have any particular favorite scenes or quotes?
You kind of mentioned the big ones for me. I loved that there was a whale shark in their sculpture, because those are my favorite kind of shark.
Absolutely. And there's some whale sharks happening in the One Piece episodes we're covering as well, so that's just some nice crossover energy right there.
Imagine Jinbei in
The
this
Tropical
season
Club?
in the Tropical Club. How do you think he would get along with the different cures? Jinbei is a fish man who is whale shark, and he steers ships, for those of you who don't watch One Piece.
He's a blue Dorito man. And he's a very reserved character, so I think that, like Asuka, he would want to be part of the team, but he wouldn't quite know how to do it, and then Manatsu would bring him out of his shell type of a thing. I think that he would absolutely destroy Crab with abs. Chongi Ray would be like, look at me, I'm so strong, and Jinbei's like, no, I'm stronger.
Oh, imagine Jinbei teaching Laura Fishman karate.
Oh my god, Laura would be too strong.
Oh god. She's unstoppable now. The IRS's agents can't come at her.
Very nice. One other scene that kind of stood out slightly in my mind was the teacher shows up to like hand out snacks and cheer them all on for doing such a, working so hard on their sculptures. And Manatsu said, or the teacher says something about like, wow, your club might be the best club in the school or something like that. And I think Manatsu says, well, we're not quite there yet. Which is interesting. I think that if I had a magic wand and I could change the episode as it was, I'd probably do it the opposite. I'd probably have one of the Tropical Club members be like, does this mean that we're like the biggest club around? And the teacher would be like, you're not quite there yet. But that could kind of like plant the seeds of like, it's not their goal. They're not trying to conquer the school, but maybe as they make more friends and as they reach out, maybe eventually the Tropical Club will become like the most prominent happening club.
No, Joel, they're going to be king of the clubs now. King of the what now? Oh, gosh. One other favorite scene I had really quick. The bad guy for this week was a big spinny thing.
Yeah.
And they had to stop it. So Manatsu and Sango bend over and start like throwing sand and water at it to bury it under wet sand. And that just looked ridiculous.
It looked ridiculous, but it's also exactly the sort of thing that a young person would, a child would come up with. We went to a Comic-Con convention, not the Comic-Con, but one of the offshoots. And there was a writer there who said that the way that they wrote their story for their daughter, who was like 8, I think, she was young, was that he would ask her how she would resolve this issue. So there was like some monster that was like spewing like poison, and he was like, well, how would you as the hero fight a monster that was spitting poison? And she's like, I'd use an umbrella, duh. So the guy rewrote the story so that the hero earlier had found a magical umbrella that could block the poison, and he just kind of laughed because, like, of course to a child, an umbrella is how you would stop a poison attack, but to an adult, what are you talking about? And that's how I felt the sand doggy, attack kind of looked and felt to me. Also, part of that scene that was great, this thing has like, tentacle arms, extensions, something like that. It shoots them out, and then it slowly starts to spin, and Asuka and Minori, I guess technically they're transformed, so Flamingo and Papaya jump over it with like these kind of like puzzled expressions, but then the monster starts spinning faster and faster, and they start jumping, and then eventually they're jumping too fast and they can't escape because, if they stop, they'll get hit and maybe die, but I don't think so.
Maybe die, but I don't think so.
Jump until you die. So I got a question.
I got an answer, probably. If
we had known that this episode was going to be sand sculpting, or if I had paused before they started working on their sculpture, would this have been what you predicted that the Tropical Club make, is just a bunch of sea animals?
No. I think I would have predicted that they would have had, like, disparate ideas. So, like, Manatsu would have wanted to sculpt a big lipstick, and Minori would want to sculpt a fruit, and Asuka would want to sculpt, I don't know, a set of dumbbells, right? And
she'd want to sculpt the bear from that cute game she was playing the other day, maybe?
Yes, and so the episode would have been about them coming together as a team and making something that incorporates all of their ideas.
Yeah. It would be really funny if they had made a giant sand sculpture of, like, Laura or something like that. And Asuka had been like, don't you think that she should be, like, laughing evilly like a witch? And Laura would be like, hey, that'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty good.
Also, you just shook a memory loose from this episode. I really like that Manatsu tried to draw her outline for what she wanted to sculpt, and everyone else was like, what are you talking about? And Asuka takes it and just, like, quickly makes this, like, beautiful rendition. And she's like, is this what you were going for? Bless you, Asuka. Is there anything that you can't do?
Make friends.
Oh, no.
Or keep friends, I guess, because it's implied she had friends in the past and lost them.
Yeah, absolutely. When do you think we're going to get that storyline?
Around episode 16 or 17.
Okay, I'll write that one down.
We need some time, yeah.
Did we eat our broccoli this week?
We did, yes. We watched episode 11 of Futari wa Precure. Geki Drago is dead. Long live Geki Drago.
He was defeated. He said the iconic line, "This is my final form," as he combined a bunch of different sea life together at the aquarium. So let me just say, Futari wa predicted. It was laying the seeds for Tropical Rouge Precure 17 or 18 years later. No, I've said before that I like Nagisa's little brother Ryota. I like their relationship, and this episode actually fleshed it out a little bit where you find out that Nagisa does care for her little brother. And that's really all we need to say. This isn't a Futari wa review podcast, but it was a pretty good episode.
It was. I liked it. Joel, you are the keeper of the Reddit posts. Did we get any replies to our Reddit post? Do we have any tweets in a bottle from there?
No, I did not see any tweets in a bottle on Reddit, unfortunately.
We also did not have any tweets in a bottle from Twitter, so maybe we need to get a little bit more aggressive with our marketing. We need to Tropica-shine in the way that we try to get people to respond. But I didn't want anyone to come after me and be like, you didn't do tweets in a bottle. You didn't send me any tweets in a bottle.
We haven't, I don't know if we've explicitly brought it up, but I did see someone say something about, like, will Laura get legs partway through the season? And I think we've talked about it before, but I don't think I brought up that I saw a Reddit comment on a previous episode, like, a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, I think we've talked, and I think that they probably will give her legs. That just seems like the easiest way to help her, like, blend in with school, for example. But also it would be cool if she just kept her mermaid form.
Well, and I've shared my sad theory for how the season is going to end, right? Have I done that on mic?
I'm pretty sure, but go ahead and let it be canon by foreshadowing it a couple of times.
Okay, absolutely. So I'm pretty sure Laura will be the mid-season cure. And she'll get a transformation that involves a human form, so she can walk around with the rest of them. And I think the sad moment at the end of the season, all, capitalized, will be she has to decide, do I want to give up being a mermaid and stay with Manatsu, or do I want to return to the sea and be the mermaid queen that I've been working so hard for? And Manatsu, of course, will be like, You have to do what's most important right now. You have to Tropica-shine. Go be the mermaid queen. I want you to follow your dream.
But Manatsu, you are what's most important right now and in the future. And then they get married. They get Precure married.
Pre-mare. Curied.
Pre-mare just sounds too much like pro-mare. Do you think that any of them will be able to ignite the fire from within? Maybe Asuka.
Maybe actually. Asuka. Talk about a movie that was gay. My God. I love pro-mare so much. It was excellent. What do you think the next episode is going to bring? Do you have any ideas?
They're gonna. Okay, let's see. So we've had sand sculpture, which is the most tropical thing that you could possibly do. We haven't had a beach volleyball episode, so we could do that. We eventually will need a sports episode so that Asuka can show off the thing that she is best at. She's good at a lot of things, but I think that team competition is going to be the thing that causes her to open up about her past. Maybe Manatsu or Sango will be like, let's do, beach volleyball. And Asuka will get really nervous and be like, I'll stay on the sidelines. And then they'll have to ask her, and eventually she'll give a tearful, this is how the club president left me or whatever. When she became and they'll be like, we'll never leave you or something like that. But I don't know.
I'm thinking the very next episode will probably give us whatever activity they can also include Laura in.
Okay.
So I really like the idea of them giving her a skirt, and they're like, you're just going to pretend to be a person. You're gonna be the judge for this thing that we're doing, or
maybe they'll do some kind of like costume thing where they all try to dress up like mermaids, and they're like, "Wow, look at this girl's costume! It looks so realistic."
That's a great opportunity for Laura to get praised too.
Yeah,
which she just loves. So.
And when they said, "Let's find an activity that you can participate in," I really just assumed that it's going to be some kind of like in the water activity, like swimming or something like that, where maybe she only exposes her top half that is human looking.
Absolutely. You could do some sort of like not beach volleyball, but like pool volleyball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
She could play. And then I do think that we're going to get another scene with the bad guys, because that seems to be on an every other episode kind of pattern.
Sure.
So I want to know what that butler's up to.
Flip your 3-sided coin. Who do you think is going to be the bad guy next episode?
Elde.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of her lately, and if you assume that they're just going to like rotate through them, this episode was Numeri, last episode was Crab with Abs, Changi Ray, so we haven't seen what Elde's Zen Zen Yarine Da will look like.
Well, and like something about Elde, I think she's the most likely to uncover the butler's sinister plot and need to be saved.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Crab with Ab's dad teaming up with Dr. Mom to save their child from the evil seahorse.
Absolutely. I just want the three of them to live and be a family and not have to worry about motivation energy.
Okay.
Let Changi Ray be a gourmet chef for people who will eat his food.
Yes, absolutely. Who do you think would be the most appreciative of his food? Like, do you think it's Manatsu? Because of course it would be. Yeah,
maybe when Laura becomes the mermaid queen, he'll be her professional chef.
Yes, absolutely.
Her personal chef.
All right. Do you have any crack theories to lead us into the sunset?
No, I don't think so. Do you have any?
Next episode will be the episode where all of the foreshadowing finally comes to fruition, and Sango will lose an arm.
Oh.
That's how powerful the new Zen Zen Yarine Da is. She will lose her limb, but then Laura will go on a quest underwater to the lost city of Atlantis, the magical city that has all sorts of cool technology, and Sango will get a Mega Man style cannon arm that fires starfish and pieces of coral. And that has been your doot final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and don't forget to Tropica-shine. And please, if you want to reach out on Twitter or Reddit or anywhere else, just let us know. We'd love to discuss the thoughts of other people watching this series. What do you think of the episode so far? Who's your favorite character? What do you think of the next airing episode? Have a great day. Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these two doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter is the best place to do that. I am at KOTWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at KingOfTheWhatPod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/KingOfTheWhatPod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.